Welcome back to the Jon Krawczynski Show. He's Jon Krawczynski from The Athletic. He is the namesake and star of this show. I'm Jim Suhan from the Star Tribune and TalkNorth.com. This is TalkNorth.com. Please, if you like the show, please subscribe to your favorite podcast app. Watch it on YouTube. You can go to TalkNorth.com and listen through that way. Any way you like, we do appreciate it. We're coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services studio.
It's Scott for Aquarius Home Services. Yep, Jack Frost is back, and he's not just nipping at your nose. He's eyeing your furnace and those leaky faucets, too. Don't let him crash your holidays. Call Aquarius and get $98 off any plumbing or furnace repair. Enjoy your holidays and let Aquarius take care of your home service needs. Schedule today at AquariusHomeservices.com. Aquarius, earning the right to be recommended.
Hey, this is Randy Shaver. Along with Kevin Gorg, we host the show Fantasy Huddle on Talk North. Each week, we're going to break down the matchups for the NFL season and try to give you the best chance to win your fantasy football games each and every week. Join us for Fantasy Huddle on Talk North.
And we're presented by Lexus, Wayzata and Maplewood. We'll tell you more about them and our other sponsors later in the show. All right, John, 3-game losing streak. Couple of pretty good teams with pedigree coming in, and the Wolves win 2 straight. They beat the Celtics. They beat the Spurs. Yes, without Jason Tatum. Yes, without Wembanyama. Still a positive development. Just give us kind of a recap of what's happened in the last week or two, and where do you think this team is?
Yeah, I think it was a really important weekend for the Timberwolves, Jim, because they did have that 3-game losing streak, 3 straight losses that really came down to the wire, and they just kept turning the ball over and kept fumbling through things. And so there was a lot of frustration, I think, in the fan base. There was some angst within the locker room, just like, man, we got to start playing better at the end of these games. And to the point before they got home for the back-to-back with Boston and San Antonio, they had not beaten a team with a winning record. And so there was still real questions about what this team is and what it can be. And so to go ahead and then beat Boston and San Antonio on back-to-back nights, I do think, it's not an announcement that they're a contender or anything like that, but what it does do is really kind of show what this team is capable of. And yes, it is true that the Spurs did not have Wembanyama and Stephon Castle, but they were 5-1 in their previous 6 games without Wemby, and that includes a win at Denver. So they've been playing really, really well. And so the way that the Timberwolves kind of took that game over in the fourth quarter and won down the stretch and played a kind of a beautiful brand of basketball, I think was important. And so now here they are, they're sitting at 12-8 after 20 games. It's probably not where they expected to be, given the light schedule that they've faced. But I think that they have shown some signs of progress over the last 3 to 4 games in terms of being in them and now starting to close them a little bit better, that maybe better things do lie ahead here for this group.
Very interesting development. One thing that happened the other night is Rudy Gobert really didn't play down the stretch. I saw, I wasn't there, but saw quotes from Naz Reid saying, hey, this is the way this group works. We're all happy for the next person. And what did you think of that development, the decision, and was there any aftermath, or was it just Rudy understanding the situation?
Yeah, no, I think it's definitely important to talk about, because obviously Rudy is an incredibly polarizing player, given his offensive limitations. And I think that you look at what happened in the game against the Spurs was that with Wembanyama out, the Spurs did not have a big man who was really going to be able to take advantage of the Timberwolves going small defensively with Naz Reid and Julius Randle. And so that did give Chris Finch license to give that group a shot. And for the most part this season, Finch has generally started the fourth quarter with Rudy Gobert and Mike Conley out there together as kind of the veteran stable leaders, Anthony Edwards on the bench getting a rest. And that lineup has worked out pretty well for them for the most part. But this game in particular, the Spurs were having no problem getting to the rim against Rudy. Dylan Harper was scoring there. Devin Vassell was scoring there. De'Aaron Fox was. And they weren't just able to really kind of get things going offensively enough to gain any separation. And so Finch went small, and he went with a lineup that had only played 15 minutes together this entire season before last night. And it was Mike Conley, Dante DiVincenzo, Jaden McDaniels, Naz Reid, and Julius Randle. And what we saw that do for the Timberwolves was just kind of put 5 guys out there who really want to share the ball, who can put the ball on the floor, who can move around and can really kind of dissect an opposing defense. And that's exactly what that group did. They played the best stretch of basketball the Timberwolves have played all year. It was a 6-minute stretch, 21-7, that they really just got control of that game. And not only were they doing it offensively, but they were able to do it defensively with a zone that Jaden McDaniels kind of was in the middle of and just really dominated defensively that way. And they rebounded well, and they did everything that they could do and that they hadn't been doing when Rudy Gobert was off the floor. So what does long story, what does all that mean, Jim? Not necessarily anything, because for all of the frustration that fans have with Rudy Gobert, going into last night, he was among players who have played at least 400 minutes in the NBA this season. Rudy Gobert was number 2 in the league in net rating. So the Wolves are 20.3 points per 100 possessions better with him on the floor than versus him off. What is that? And the only player better is Giannis Antetokounmpo. And so Rudy has been really impactful, but that particular game was one that was not the right fit for Rudy. And so I give Chris Finch a lot of credit in putting that lineup out there and then staying with it throughout the entire quarter and keeping Rudy Gobert on the bench, and just riding it that way. That's got to be the way this team plays. There are going to be other nights where you really, really need Rudy Gobert out there and someone else has to sit. And Finch has just got to be able to ride the hot hand that way. And I think because it worked out so well, Rudy has no real argument against it in that game. But I also don't want to draw massive conclusions that, well, this team is better without Rudy Gobert. It hasn't been the case all season long, but certainly in that game, it was the case.
Finch, and you and I were talking off the air. Finch, before the game, was talking about the fact that he's been searching for the right combinations, the right lineups. I mean, is he anywhere close at this point, or is it going to be just a night-by-night decision-making process?
Yeah, I mean, I do think that when the season started, we believed, hey, you have continuity, you have 9 of your top 10 guys back. Like, the puzzle pieces should be fairly easy to figure out. But with the point guard issues that the Wolves have had, that has kind of changed the makeup of this roster. Whereas, now Anthony Edwards is kind of the main point guard. And so I think that dynamic has really put some pressure on Chris Finch to tinker with lineups, to throw different things out there. And we were having the conversation with him before the game, and he did say that, look, sometimes we're just putting stuff out there just to try it, just to see what it looks like. We don't know when it's gonna yield, and so we want to give it a chance to breathe a little bit. And there have been times where it hasn't worked out. Thinking about not having Jalen Clark on the floor for defense in Phoenix. Thinking about some of the Naz Randle front court lineups without Clark or Jaden McDaniels for defensive help in that group would just get shredded. And so there have been times, there have been fourth quarters where both Ant and Randle were off the floor at the same time. And you're just like, I don't know that that's the right thing. And so all of that to say is that Finch has been trying to just use these, I think, first 20 games to get a feel for what is working and what is not. And I do think that he is coming closer to the conclusion that he just has to be very, very malleable from game to game and really play the game as it comes. Like a lot of coaches, Finch included, will really like to put a really set rotation together and, maybe 8, 9 guys are in it every night and they come in at the same time and they come out at the same time because a lot of players do like routine. But I think that this team right now probably needs to be more versatile and needs to be a team that adapts from quarter to quarter, from, possession to possession to what they need. And that also requires Chris Finch to be willing to sort of get out of that box a little bit. And so I think that's where he is landing right now. Maybe at 40 games, there will be a little bit more of a defined kind of identity and lineup construction. But while they're still in this period of self-discovery, I think that you're going to see him tinker even more until he, just really gets the right group. But the one that he put out against the Spurs that start that fourth quarter, that was really, really intriguing. And we should hopefully see a lot more of it than the 15 minutes that they had played prior to this.
Let's take care of the companies that allow us to do what we do. And let's start with Lexus of Wayzata in Maplewood.
If you're in the market for a new luxury vehicle, look no further than our good friend Charlie Swanson at Lexus. Whether you're on the west or the east side of the Twin Cities, they've got you covered with 2 great locations, Lexus of Wayzata and Lexus of Maplewood. Check out the all-new Lexus TX, a spacious SUV with 3 rows of seating and plenty of room for all your gear. Head over to lexusofwayzata.com or lexusofmaplewood.com for details and to find your next ride today.
If you're a sportsman fan in Minnesota, you know all about TSR injury law. They're everywhere. Billboards, ads, everywhere. Well, we can tell you that the billboards can't, and they can't really come out and tell you themselves, is that we trust them. The Timberwolves trust them. The Timberwolves work very closely with them. They are actual fans. They go to the games. They promote the team. Most important, though, is if you're ever injured, you're going to want somebody you trust, and we can tell you that you can trust them. If you're ever injured, call 612-TSR-TIME. It's the first thing you should do, 612-TSR-TIME. They'll help you out. It's that simple. Also want to thank Royal Credit Union.
There are many reasons to open a smart checking account at Royal Credit Union, including no monthly fees, no minimum balance, and a $250 bonus. Getting your $250 is easy. Open your account by December 9th. Receive 2 payroll direct deposits of $200 or more, and you'll get a $250 bonus. See details and open your account today at rcu.org/getchecking. No minimum balance required to obtain bonus. Offer ends 12/9/25. Insured by NCUA.
Let's also hear from Princeton's Liquors.
Princeton's Liquors in Maple Grove. Bill Princeton, the Princeton family have been in the liquor sale business for decades and decades. We've been telling you about them for several years now here at Talk North. They've been a great supporter of our program, and we love to support the people who support us, especially when they are local companies with deep roots in the community like Princeton Liquors. It's the holiday season. We're always looking for a little something extra to bring to a gathering, a family gathering, a work gathering. You're hanging out with your buddies. Stop by Princeton's Liquors in Maple Grove. They have amazing selections of bourbon and craft beer. They have THC seltzers and gummies. They have everything that you could possibly ask for when you're trying to bring a little extra spirit to your holiday gatherings. So stop in at Princeton's Liquors in Maple Grove. Tell them the Jon Krawczynski Show sent you.
Teams have gotten very good at marketing and getting positive messages out on social media and through other venues. They're allies in broadcast media. And because of that, we're constantly hearing that every team is filled with guys who just love each other and are best friends and are going to have Thanksgiving dinner together. And there's no dissension out of that. And then, of course, that doesn't always end up being true. This feels like a very likable, cohesive group. But when Naz Reid says, hey, we can all handle not being on the floor during crunch time, everybody understands that you got to do what's best for the team. Just how true is that of this group?
Yeah, I mean, I think that in general, I've covered this team for more than 2 decades now. And I think that as a makeup of personalities, it's one of the nicest, best groups like that I've been around. I mean, all of the guys in there, there's not an a-hole among them. Maybe you could say that's a bad thing. Maybe sometimes you need a little edge or something in there, but like these guys all do get along well. They all do talk and spend time and things like that. The one thing that is apparent right now is that it is a quiet group in general. Ant clearly is an emotional, vocal, outsized presence. I think Jalen Clark is another guy that with a little bit like louder voice, and is a little more kind of colorful and energetic in the locker room and stuff like that. But beyond those two, Jim, Julius Randle is quiet. Rudy Gobert is contemplative. Mike Conley, Dante DiVincenzo, Naz Reid, Jaden McDaniels barely speaks at all. Like all of these guys kind of just go about their business and just go through things. And so if there is something I think that can help as this season goes along, is I do think that some guys coming out of their shells a little bit with each other will be important. I think, one thing that we talked about this week is after the loss in Sacramento, really disappointing, kicked it away to a bad team on the road, lost in overtime. Mike Conley brought the team together in Oklahoma City for a team dinner, because, and you'd think, already players only meetings, this is a disaster. And not necessarily. It was, they needed to talk some things over and maybe share some feelings and talk about what they need to do at the end of games. But I also think that really what Mike Conley was telling us was that we needed to just get together as a group and spend time together and remember that, hey, we all enjoy being around each other and we don't need to talk basketball all of the time. Let's just hang out and build a little more camaraderie that way, because it's not a group that is ultra social and kind of doing things that way. And so I think that things like that need to happen from time to time throughout the season to make sure that they are all, just on the same page and just always talking and communicating and feeling connected, because, Julius Randle had talked about it, that there was they did not feel as connected in that 3-game losing streak. And we saw more signs of connectivity over the weekend and more spirit and energy in that locker room. And I just think that's going to be sort of a maintenance thing for this team throughout the season, because there's not a number of ebullient guys that are just going to kind of create that organically in the locker room.
Does OKC have a jerk in their locker room? Kind of a productive jerk?
I don't think so. But I think that the thing for me with OKC, and any Thunder fans who get this and it comes across, this is not what you think it's going to be. I think they're basketball nerds. And I say that affectionately, because they're a team that doesn't get caught up in the trappings of fame and the trappings of success. They're not out, wild partying, things like that. They are not like, they don't have the Dylan Brookses of the world that are trying to like get under your skin or agitate or things like that. But they are like ultra focused on just hooping. And I don't think they do a whole lot else besides that. And so, when you think back to being in school and you look at the quote unquote nerds in your class, Friday night studying, and you're kind of laughing at them, but then guess what? They were acing the test on Monday morning. Like, that's what the Thunder do. Like they go to work and then they go home and hang out, and they're not like super colorful. They're not, these megawatt personality types, Chet Holmgren, Shea, Lou Dort, all these guys are just kind of like, they're not look at me types of players, but they just say, I'm here to hoop and I'm here to play ball. And like, that's all that matters. And even like there was talks about the celebration of their championship was kind of muted. Like they didn't spray a lot of champagne. They didn't go crazy, like, with like the parade and things like that. They had fun. They did it, but it wasn't over the top. And you can see them again this year. Like that's a team that is not dealing with any distraction from winning the title. Like they're going to work, then they go home, they do their homework, and they spend a lot of time with it, and then they come back and they kick your ass again. Like that's their makeup right now.
I intended to get to Anthony Edwards in this segment. I think he might be a full segment coming up here, both him playing point guard, how he's been playing lately, the fact that he's on a scoring tear. And, it was interesting to hear Alan Horton and Jim Peterson ask where he ranks like top 10 NBA players. We can get into all that. But I want to stay in OKC for a minute here because I feel like with the Wolves, there's a very accomplished team, 2 straight Western Conference Finals. These guys are winners. It's a good group to be around. It's really an admirable basketball operation in many ways. And yet you do see, okay, they weren't really up for that game. They didn't beat those good teams. Their record's good, but not great. Oklahoma City's, completely obliterating the idea that there's a championship hangover. They're 20-1. I think 3 teams previously have come off a championship, gone 20-1. Those teams all went back to the finals. I mean, is there any hope that Oklahoma City is going to slip on a banana peel at any point?
Yeah, I mean, as of right now, not a lot. I mean, like they look incredibly dominant. They just got Jalen Williams back. They've been missing him the entire season, their second best player, and it has not mattered one bit. And so I actually, that game that the Wolves played in Oklahoma City was actually the one game that I looked at this year and said, hey, you know what? The Wolves might be better than I thought they were because they were in it all the way down the stretch. Yes, at the very end, they kicked it away a little bit, but they competed with Oklahoma City and played really, really well for most of that game. But that's sort of the litmus test is if you are in a game against OKC, like you're stamped because they have I think their net rating right now is 16 per 100 possessions, which is blows away the best mark that's ever, in league history. And so they're killing people. They're just murdering teams every single night. They are a machine when it comes to execution, role definition, all of the things that you need to be great at this. And so as of right now, you look at it and you say, no, these guys are head and shoulders above anyone else in terms of the favorite. Now, the one thing that if you're a Wolves fan and you look at that and say, boy, we have no chance, I would just say that as a veteran of covering this league, the season is incredibly long. Yes. It is so long. And so literally anything can happen between now and then. And I will never talk about injuries that way because I just don't want to see any player get hurt. But things change from moment to moment. And one thing that we have seen, I think that has defined this Timberwolves era, in the Finch era especially, is that the Wolves are not a team, generally speaking. They did in 23-24, but in most of the cases, they come out of the gates kind of slow. They try to figure things out. And by March and April, they are playing their best basketball. And so I do believe that Tim Connolly, Chris Finch, Ant Conley, all these guys will figure things out as the season goes along. And what, the basketball they're playing right now is up and down, but by February, March, April, they're going to be really good and figuring things out and playing well. Once you get into the playoffs, matchups happen and we'll see. But yeah, I mean, you look at the way that this season can play out and right now, Oklahoma City looks unbeatable. Maybe something happens to throw off the equilibrium and they don't look as unbeatable. Or maybe you just get in a series with them and guess what? Jaden McDaniels is shooting 50% from 3 and Randall isn't turning the ball over and Ant is making the right plays and all those things. And could they battle with OKC? Yes, they could, but they would be decided underdogs, which they should be. And Oklahoma City is clearly the favorite, but I would just say, I'm not just saying this season is over. Why bother? Because I've just seen too many things over the years that can just change it in a heartbeat, with something you never saw coming.
Yep. Well said. All right, let's get to Ant. First, though, I want to hear about Chew Vision Institute.
Chew Vision Institute in Bloomington. Go down to chewvision.com, set up your free consultation, and go in and meet with just the warmest, most intelligent, most knowledgeable staff that you could ever ask for. And they will get you set up with Dr. Chew, who is an incredible influence and just calming influence in the LASIK process. I had LASIK surgery a year and a half ago. It has been just an incredible experience for me. And one of my favorite parts about it was I was nervous going into the operating room, and, they're doing, putting a laser on your eye, and that can be really kind of aggravating. But Dr. Chew comes in, he settles you down. He has a very calming, soothing voice. He's done this a million times before. He gets you right into the chair. You get set up and you do it, and it's over in like minutes. It's a really quick process, and go home, rest for a little bit. You wake up and you're seeing clearly, and life is just so much easier without contacts and eyeglasses. So go to chewvision.com, go see Dr. Chew and the good folks in Bloomington. They will take great care of you like they took great care of me, and they will help you live a much easier, much more carefree life without contacts and eyeglasses at chewvision.com.
And now tell us about your upcoming holiday show at Headflyer.
Headflyer Brewing in Northeast Minneapolis. We are going to have a live show on December 20th in the evening. We'll put out a little bit more direct details as we get things approached. We're going to have a special guest we're really excited about. We will announce that a little bit closer to the production as well. But as you guys know, you come to Headflyer for a live show. We always have great guests. We have great conversation. There are beer specials and drink specials. We'll have some giveaways, some ticket giveaways and things of that nature. But before you get to December 20th, stop into Headflyer for a Timberwolves game. Stop into Headflyer for a Vikings game. They're always putting on super hospitable environment. The tap room is wide open. They've got TVs everywhere. Most of all, they've got great beers to drink and enjoy with your friends, with your neighbors, with your family, with your coworkers, watching games, hanging out at Headflyer Brewing in Northeast Minneapolis.
And now the sponsor of our end of the show Twitter question, Shepherd Goods and Lamb Chops clothing line.
SGLambchops.com is the place to go. Put in the promo code JONK20 for 20% off everything you get at Lamb Chops. They have amazing casual wear, super comfortable hoodies, sweaters, sweatshirts, t-shirts, hats, pants, whatever you can look for. If you want to look good and feel good, you go to sglambchops.com and they will take care of you. Jordan and Craig are at these games. They are another just community company invested in this community that we love to support. That's been such a great supporter of us. So go to sglambchops.com, use the promo code JONK20 for 20% off anything you get at Lamb Chops.
So tell me about Anthony Edwards at point guard.
So it's been the defining sort of characteristic of this first 20 games, Jim. We have seen them start the season, and when they moved Mike Conley out of the starting lineup and put Dante DiVincenzo in it, there was sort of a just kind of assumption that, hey, Dante is the point guard now. But really what we have seen this adapt and mold into is a team with Anthony Edwards as the point guard, or kind of the quote unquote lead guard. And that is the new construction of NBA offenses, is that is a dynamic playmaking scoring guard, kind of soaking up the usage and getting buckets for himself and for others. Luka Doncic, James Harden, Steph Curry, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Giannis is in that class in Milwaukee, and as a forward, but Jalen Brunson, Tyrese Maxey, just everywhere. Like that's the way the traditional classic point guard is retiring with Chris Paul and Mike Conley. Like that's just not the way that things go anymore. So, it's been an up and down experience so far, because Anthony Edwards is getting used to that role. And on the good side of things, he has been incredible as a scorer over the last 5 or 6 games. I think he has more 30-point games than any other player in the league this season. So he's been consistent that way. He just surpassed Cat for the most 30-point games in franchise history with his 32 against the Spurs on Sunday night. He's done it in, just over 6 years. So that's, that shows like how good of a scorer that he is and how good of a shooter that he is. Now, the other parts that he is trying to adjust to are, making sure that others are staying involved, that he's not over dribbling, that he's not isoing too much, because he can get his own shot whenever he wants. That doesn't mean he should get his own shot whenever he wants. And so I think that if there has been sort of an overall adjustment period for the team and a reason that they are 12-8 and not say, 15-4, 15-5, it's because Ant is figuring all of this out and he's working through it with his teammates. And he's a guy that learns on the job. Like, he needs to be in these situations. He needs to understand it. That's why I think the game against San Antonio was really valuable, because Ant was watching that group move the ball at the start of the fourth quarter as well. He was sitting on the bench too. And he needs to see kind of the vision of it all come together. When you move it quickly, when you make quick decisions, the ball comes back to you in great spots to get great shots. And so there is there's an angel and a devil on Ant's shoulders. And the devil wants him to just score every time and just shoot every time because he can. But the angel wants him to make sure that he not only looks for himself, but he gets his teammates involved as well. And so most of the time he is trying to listen to the angel. Sometimes that devil gets in there and just whispers sweet nothings and he goes. So I think that as the season goes along and as he gets more of a grasp of this role and a better feel for it, the Wolves are going to become better and better and more difficult to guard. And it's just going to take him time and reps to learn it and figure it out. He's a great learner. He always figures this stuff out. It just takes a little time for him to do it and get that experience. And those are some of the growing pains that the Wolves are kind of experiencing early in this season.
It's also interesting to hear, as I said, Alan Horton and Jim Peterson talk about the top 10 NBA players and who's number 5. And one thing they were saying on the broadcast is, okay, you got Giannis, Jokic, Luka, and Shea. Hard to argue with those 4 and what they've accomplished. And then do you put Ant 5? Do you put Ant 10? I mean, and also as we talk about who's in that bottom 6 of the top 10, you have some fast risers coming now to challenge Ant. It's not just him challenging the established NBA stars. There are some other players coming up behind him too. So what do you think of that discussion?
Yeah, no, it's a fascinating one because in part because like the league is just so deep right now with talent. And so if you are a top 10 or a top 5 guy in this league with this group, that's saying something. Like that is nothing to slouch about. And so, yeah, there's several names that you look at in that category, and Ant is absolutely one of them. Wembanyama is one of them when he is healthy. Tyrese Maxey has been unbelievable for the Sixers. Jalen Brunson is in that category. Steph Curry is still hanging around a little bit in that group, and in the top 10. I think when you're just kind of looking at just overall impact on the game and ability that way. Cade Cunningham is another guy who is, the Pistons have been unbelievable this year, and he's jumping up into that conversation as well. So there's a lot of guys that are in that mix. I do think that Ant belongs in that conversation, probably somewhere in the 5, 6, 7 range. And I do think that sort of this step that he is trying to take from kind of scoring impresario, just a dynamic offensive player that way to the Luka Harden level of heliocentric star. If he does complete that ascendance, now that really does get him to a point of legitimate top 5 conversation. Because the other thing that he brings to the table that a lot of the other guards in this conversation don't is he can play defense at a very high level when he does lock in. And so, yes, I think that, what Ant is doing right now and that kind of effort to round out his game even a little bit more is like the last step that he has to take to be a true top 5 guy. And if you are a top 5 guy in this league right now, you are an incredible, incredible player.
How close is he to being the defensive player Finch wants him to be?
It's kind of been the same thing what we've seen so far this year that we've seen for the last couple of years is that there are portions of games where he gets someone right in front of him and his jaws are on the bone and you are not getting anywhere. There was a couple of possessions late in the Spurs game where Dylan Harper had gotten whatever he wanted going to the basket. He's a big, strong rookie and he was bullying the Wolves a little bit and making it easy on himself. And Ant got in front of him and would not let him get to the basket. And so he has that capability of being a shutdown guy. And we've seen it quite a bit this season. What we have also seen is sometimes when he's off the ball, inattentiveness, not blocking out guys and giving up offensive rebounds, losing guys and being slow to close out on corner threes and things of that nature. And so it's still very much a work in progress to get full 100% focus on that end. To be fair to him, his usage rate and like the responsibility on his shoulders offensively has increased a lot this season with Mike Conley not playing as much, with Rob Dillingham struggling as much as he has. Like Ant is the focal point of the offense and he's bringing the ball up and he's initiating, he's doing all of these things. And so there are very, very few players in this league. I think Giannis and Shea might be the only ones that are really asked to give as much defensively as they are asked to give offensively. And now they are asking Ant to do that as well. So it's a lot on his plate. He is capable of doing it, but the defense has been a little bit more inconsistent than the offense has for the most part.
Let's wrap up today's show as we always do with Twitter questions sponsored by Shepherd Goods and Lamb Chops clothing line.
Yeah, let me find it here.
Yes, sir.
It is. Yes, this one from Andrew Derrickson. It is clear that Ant has gotten frustrated recently with the lack of calls, 3 technical fouls in the last 4 games. Is there something the organization and Finch can do to resolve this or ease tension? Personally, I would like Finch to get a tech on Ant's behalf. So I will say that Ant started out the season great. No technical fouls for the first 15 or so games of the season. And arguing with the officials has been a problem for him in the past. He got suspended last year for 1 game for all of the technical fouls that he accumulated. And now he's picked up 3 in the last 4, and he almost got a second one against the Spurs. I think that his complaints are warranted. He is the guard version of Shaq in terms of a big, strong dude that goes to the basket, gets fouled all of the time, and does not get the calls. And the organization has sent in and will continue to send in clips to the league for review of Ant's fouls, of the times where they think that he is not getting the whistle that he deserves. You look at the whistle that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander gets or Luka Doncic gets or a lot of these other players. It's like night and day with what Ant gets. But so the organization is trying to do that. I can also tell you, Andrew, Chris Finch stands up for Anthony Edwards all of the time. In these games, there are very few coaches who are as voiceful with the officials as Chris Finch is. Like, he is constantly talking to them and riding them and pleading and begging for calls. And so I honestly do wonder if it would be better for the Wolves if everyone, Anthony Edwards, Chris Finch, all of them kind of swallowed, and hard and just didn't say anything for several games, because I wonder if, some of the constant harping and lobbying and complaining actually works against them a little bit, in terms of their interactions with officials. I can see the body language in some of these refs. They do not like it when they hear from the Wolves all of the time. Naz Reid is another big complainer. And so I don't know what the answer really is, other than maybe trying to go about it a different way and not complain as much. And maybe it won't do any good, but I understand why all of them complain. I don't think officiating is at a very high level right now, but it's not working the way that it is. And so they've got to evaluate different ways to do things. And we'll see if they do or not. I wouldn't bet on it. But Andrew, I don't think that it's going to change a whole lot. And I don't think Chris Finch getting a technical will change things a whole lot, because he gives it to the officials pretty liberally. And so they hear from him all the time.
Would it benefit Ant if he just, like Shea knows he's going to get fouled if he just gets a little bit of and if you can do that, you're going to do it. It's a tremendous advantage. Would Ant be even better if he put the idea of drawing fouls out of his mind? In other words, don't draw contact expecting a whistle and then miss a shot because you expected to get rewarded by the officials. Would he be better off if he went in the lane saying, I'm going to get fouled, I'm not going to get the call, so I just need to finish through contact? Yeah,
I actually think that he's doing that, Jim, for the most part. Like a lot of these drives, I think he wants a whistle. But if you see the contact that he is drawing, I mean, he's trying to go through them. And Finch said it after the game against San Antonio that he thought it was one of Ant's best attacking games, where it was just like, look, I'm going, and he only got 2 foul shots. And so I actually wonder, and I hate to wonder it, but I wonder if it should be the other way, where he needs to go to embellishing more and he needs to flop some more. There's one thing about Anthony Edwards is he's an ethical hooper. Like, he does not flail. He does not exaggerate contact. He does not pop his head back. He doesn't fall to the ground with when you breathe on him. He is a big, strong dude that does try to go through you. And maybe that is working against him. And maybe he needs to start embellishing more. And again, I hate that style. I hate watching Shea Gilgeous-Alexander do it. I hate watching Jalen Brunson do it. I think it is unethical. I don't like it, but it works for them.
Yeah.
And so I hope that Ant doesn't do that. But I wouldn't blame him if he does try a little bit more of that kind of gamesmanship to see if it works and gets into the line a little more.
Good Twitter question got us going on this discussion. We appreciate it. Thanks to everyone who listens, everyone who watches. You can find these shows on YouTube. You can find them at talknorth.com. You can subscribe to your favorite podcast app, whatever way you access the show. We do appreciate it. Thanks for patronizing our sponsors. They've taken us a long way and allowed us to do all the shows we do at the network. Check out Mark Rosen, Randy Shaver on high school football, Don Mitchell's interview show, Russo LaPanta, Roy Smalley, Lavelle Neal, Alec Lewis, Jeff Diamond, and of course, Jon Krawczynski. We all appreciate it, and we'll talk to you soon.